Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Welcome to the tutorial. In this one I'm going to show you a very quick and very efficient way to put a camera rig on a curve and have it track that curve with the camera. Now I've got frame dropping on here. I don't know if you can see that, it's kind of small, but the camera's kind of whipping through the scene. And all I did was draw a Bezier with a couple of constraints. And then I've got this map that I'm developing. It's a Skyrim map that I'm just kind of making on my own. And so let's jump right over and we're going to start a fresh scene. So it does not matter what the camera's looking at. So drop in a Suzanne, drop in a cube, UV sphere, whatever it is, and then hide it. Now what you want to do is make sure cursor is to world origin. Shift S will do that for you. And I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to drop in an empty planes access. Now I need this camera to be over here, like perfect, right? I don't need it rotated. I don't need the location funky. So the way to do that is super easy. Just grab your camera, hit Alt and G. That's going to zero out the location. Then hit Alt R. That's going to zero out the rotation. So now what we can do is Shift A, drop in a curved circle, scale it up. Go ahead and apply said scale. Take the empty, come over to the constraints, and drop it down. You'll see a follow path. Go ahead and select that. Now, before we get too far, let's take the camera, shift right click, make sure the plane's axis is our active object, hit Control P, object, keep transform. So now I want to grab the circle with the target for the follow path constraint. So I'll go ahead and do that, and this will snap over nicely. So now I can hit Alt H and bring back our Suzanne. But if I was to just hit play right now, nothing happens, right? So let's move over to frame 1. And this is where the offset comes in. You just have to hover your mouse over this, hit I, and then you can move over to 250 and then take the offset and just click on it, hit 100. And once you've done that, make sure to hit I again. Now if you hit play, this will make one nice full revolution at 360 degrees, but unfortunately the camera is pointing down, right? So that really doesn't help us. So I'll just bring it back over to frame 1. I'm going to grab the camera and we can add another constraint. So I'll go in, and what we can do is we can have this do a track 2. So we'll add that, and it should already be on Y up and then track axis Z. So we'll pick the target for this one as the Suzanne, and now the camera will forever be watching the Suzanne. So if we hit play, we get this very nice 360 degree setup. Okay, so now that's pretty simple. So grab this and hit delete. Everything's going to return back to where it was. So we could re-hide the Suzanne for just a moment if we wish. And now let's do something different. So Shift A, curve Bezier, and we'll have a Bezier pop up. You can move it anywhere you want. I'll jump into edit mode, make sure I've got both verts selected, hit X, and then left click delete those vertices. Grab the draw pen, the top view, and now if I want, I can draw this, and I'm doing this with the mouse. That was terrible. Let me try that one more time. There we go. And have it end any place that I want. So now remember, this is a curve. So I could come in, I'll get the selection here, and hit G and Z, maybe kind of bring the camera track this way. And you can pull out the sliders for the curve and do whatever you want. Now let's just say you're over here on this bend. You could select 2 verts, hit W, and then subdivide to get this angle if this is the one you want to maybe bring down. All right, so now what we need to do is have our follow path target the Bezier. And so now it's going to target the Bezier. And the only problem now is that the empty with the camera has completely fired out of the scene, right? So let's get that back over here. And the only thing you have to do for that is click on follow curve and fixed position. And then we'll do the same thing we did before. I'm going to come up here, and I deleted these keyframes. And if you right select, if you use the right mouse here, not like the left mouse here, but it's going to be the right. And the left is just going to move the slider and annoy you to death. So just right click, select, and then you just hit delete. And so this one can be just a little bit tricky sometimes. So you would kind of find your starting point, and you can go to frame 1, and you can hit I, and then you can track through the entire thing to the end. Make sure you go over to 250, otherwise you kind of like just did that for nothing. And I'll go back through, and it looks like I'm on point 1 on this one, wherever it ends up, however you drew your curve. So if you go ahead and hit play, and I will go ahead and pull up the camera view, you get this neat little in and out, and you can go into the graph editor, kind of shift things around too. This might actually be cool for like some type of ad or something if you were doing it. All right, so over in the graph editor, and it's super easy to get to, just any one of these windows, you can come over and make it a graph editor. You can grab these sliders where these quote-unquote vertices are in the graph editor, and you kind of start modifying those to change speeds, the beginning, the end point speeds, and individually modify these for some really cool results. So if we look like, hey, this was a zoom in spot potentially on a product or something. Now the other thing we can do, and I'll just stay in the camera view, is that you can go ahead with the camera selected and go to your timeline. And what you can do, if I can get this to maximize just a little bit, that's so hectic right there. Okay, so what I can do is with the mouse over here, hit insert location rotation scale. I'm just going to bring this over to right about where it's going to turn. And what I'll do is I'll hit G and Z. Now you can hit Z once, and that's global, right? You hit Z again, you just turned into the local scale, right? So now you can start moving the camera around in different ways and add some new keyframes in. So I'm just going to kind of play around with this and move it anywhere I want, get it wherever you want, and then insert location rotation scale. And just to accentuate it, like right here at this turn, I'll insert one, then I'll move it over, and I'll insert another one. So I'm going to hit G and Z, and hit Z twice so it'll kind of zoom out just a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and insert another one. Now, let's go back over to frame 1 and hit play and see what we get now. Woo! It's a little fast, but you can, I was kind of doing some stuff in the compositor, so that zoom out is there. And you can see how I got it to just kind of come back, pause. And it's really like, it's kind of an endless thing. So if you want to come in here and just kind of play around with it, I don't think you can really mess it up on a scene like this. I would suggest you do it on the curved circle first, just to kind of get used to it. Now, by adding in those extra rotation scales and such, I've got some extra things here like the Euler rotations. You could turn all of these rotations and scales off and just keep the location. And then just to get the feel for it, you could turn them all off, but say like the y-axis, and then start playing around with that one. Turn that one off, turn on the x-axis, and start kind of messing around with that to see like the different results that you can get. So and it's a pretty drastic change. Like I can have this looking down at the bottom. So if I want to go back and hit play now, this thing's going to swoop really crazy to the bottom, which I like. It's pretty cool actually. So anyways, guys, that is it. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial lesson.